the Feed Bandit Podcast, Episode 8, The Best Deer Popper Recipe. Hey everybody, howdy, and welcome to the Feed Bandit Podcast, where we have fun talking hunting and do our best to help out small businesses in the hunting space. I'm Jimmy Byrne, and for this one, actually, I'm riding solo as my partner Richard is indisposed. He's working on other crucial Feed Bandit work, so this one may be a little shorter than normal today. But since deer season is here in Texas, for bow hunters at least, and we're about 1 month out for rifle hunters, I thought I'd talk about my absolute favorite way to enjoy the venison backstrap. It's always a great tailgate recipe now that football season is in full gear as well. My favorite is what I call the Feed Bandit Bacon Wrapped Venison Backstrap, or deer poppers. It's an easy meal to prepare and cook, and it's always a hit with our entire family here in the Byrne household. Yes, even the quote-unquote I don't like venison crowd. So it's one of those things that you can make and serve, and I guess people don't think it tastes like what they think venison tastes like. As I've said, I like to use backstrap for this meal. Now, when you hear me as I go through how I prepare it and cook it, you might start saying to yourself, well, that's sacrilege using a prime cut like that. Well, yeah, I mean, I understand, and I've used all cuts of meat from the deer and used all cuts of meat for this particular recipe. And yes, if you're blessed with having enough backstrap each year to where you can do it, I think it just makes these poppers that much better. So let's dive in. Ingredients, of course, the venison backstrap, the whitetail, is what I particularly like to use for this. And I usually like to do about a half of one to one full one, typically for my family, where it's just my wife and my young son, and he doesn't eat it, so it's really my wife and I. I just use basically a half of a backstrap. And what I do is I also use a bottle of what the Kikkoman marinade and sauce teriyaki. It's about 10 ounces. Some cream cheese, a cream cheese packet, 2 to 4 jalapenos, depending on how thick and spicy you want to make the recipe. We'll talk about that in a second. I'll get at least one full thick cut, just original flavor of bacon package from whatever store you go to, but make sure it's thick. And then I have these shish kebab grill racks that come with skewers, and I put those on the grill. I'll talk about those in a second. Or I put them on the skewers, so I'll talk about that. And then don't forget your favorite drink of choice and some good tunes. So let me dive in, talk about how I make these beauties to the taste buds. So first off, you need to thoroughly bleed out the venison. Now, there's many ways to do this. I particularly like to actually, after I get the deer, to cut out the prime cuts. I trim off all the extra stuff you don't want to eat off that thing, and then I'll bring it home and I'll typically let them bleed out in my fridge for at least a week. Now, you want to seal them away from the open air. So what I do is I'll put them into freezer bags and just let them sit in those in my fridge. And then as the blood comes out, I'll take those bags out, drain the blood, kind of rotate the pieces of meat, and keep them until they really stop. After about a day, there's really not that much blood left. You'll start seeing that kind of like go from like the dark purple to like the reddish pink type look. So once I get to that point, I'll then cut down the half of backstrap into little cubes, and typically no bigger than about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches cubed. What I found is, again, like the average size mature deer can be cut in half, and that'll feed a family of 4 fair enough. Now, once I'm done doing that, what I'll do is I'll marinate those little cubes. I'll marinate them in the Kikkoman marinade and teriyaki sauce, and I'll fully cover them and do that for at least about 24 hours prior to grilling. Now, I typically use that marinade alone, but if you kind of like a little more salty kind of flavor, then go ahead and add soy sauce to that mix. It brings a good amount of the salt out, and some tastes really good. I am no stranger to adding salt to my meals, so that's something that I will do on occasion. Uh, of course, it also depends on who else you're cooking for, what they like. And my wife did particularly like salt too much, so most of the time I'll just do the teriyaki. But once that's done, uh, after about like I said, I like to do it for about 24 hours. Now the fun begins. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get a big cutting sheet. Of course, I like to wet it down so nothing sticks to it. Typical thing. And what I'll do is I'll lay everything out. I'll get that bacon, thick cut bacon. I'll pull it out, and I'll usually cut them in half. Half on there, so that essentially what the slices end up being doubled for the amount of poppers that I'll be making. And before I do this, though, the key to building these poppers and making a good grill is to be in a cheerful state of mind. So to do that, what I love to do is I'll make a nice and tasty adult beverage to sip on while I'm building these poppers. Yeah, sometimes I'll just drink some cold beer. Other times, make a nice cocktail. And I also love to put on some Texas country music. Put it on the background and really just kind of get to it. Now, once I'm ready, I got all that ready to go. What I'll do after I cut that bacon in half is now I'll slice the jalapenos. So I want to slice those things to about an eighth, at the most a fourth of an inch. Don't worry about the seeds; keep them in there because you want them to be a little spicy. So depending on how spicy you want it, if you like spice, go to the fourth. If you like a lot less, do an eighth. If you don't like any, just leave the jalapenos out. Use your judgment. Make sure your cream cheese is open and ready to go, and make sure your skewers are within arm's reach and something to put your fully prepared skewers into and to transport to wherever you're going to be cooking it. So now you're ready to build. So what I like to do is I'll lay out one of the half bacon slices with the thicker kind of end towards me, laid out perpendicular, and I'll place one of the slices of the jalapeno down on the end, and I'll just pinch off a decent amount of the cream cheese and enough to cover the jalapeno. I'll throw that on there, and I'll just place a cube of venison and put it right on top of that cheese. And then I'll just wrap it. Start at the bottom and start wrapping that piece of bacon. Typically, you can wrap it about at least once, of course. But then if you have a little more pliable bacon, you can wrap it twice. Make sure that skewer goes through the jalapeno and the piece of meat, so keeping it all in there together. And then you put one of those on there, and then you start again. Take a drink of your beverage. Repeat the process until you're done. Typically, I like to put no more than 5 probably on the skewers, and the skewers that I use are about 14 inches long. So you can imagine, you get 5 of those nice pieces on there. That gives enough room for the air to kind of go through and whatnot. Like I said, what I've used on the grill is what's called the shish kebab grill rack. It has 14 and a half inch skewers, I suppose. It works perfectly. The grill rack keeps the kebabs off the grill, so that's really nice. And when you're cooking with a lot of bacon over a flame, of course you might have some grease issues and such, but the grease might flare up a little bit, but that gives a little crisp to it, and it just kind of amplifies the overall taste of the popper. I like to cook them primarily with an open grill top, but I'll typically kind of keep the grill shut for the first, 3 to 5 minutes to get a good thorough heat going on all the parts. Start getting that bacon to start drawing in and sucking itself to the meat and the jalapeno and the cheese. And then as I'm cooking, I like to rotate them, so as not to completely burn one side over another. You'll just want to, look at them and do your thing. You're all probably experienced grill masters, so I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. You probably have a better way of doing it. I'd love to hear from y'all if you do. So just give me a shout. But anyway, I typically know they're done when the bacon looks a little crisp, kind of, a little bit, maybe slightly more so than when you're cooking bacon for eggs in the morning. But you get the idea. Another thing is I'll use cook them in the oven as well. I've almost kind of, I know this might be sacrilege too, but gotten to the point where I like cooking them in the oven better because I feel like it gets a complete, thorough cook on around everything to the same level. So what I'll do is I'll get I have a single jerky rack that I got from Academy. You can get ones with multiple levels as well. I've seen them at Bass Pro and places like that. But you just sit that on the cookie sheet, but be sure to put down aluminum foil over the cooking sheet so it makes your cleanup a lot easier and doesn't end up burning onto the pan or anything like that. And then you just set your kebabs right on top of that jerky rack, evenly spaced out. Throw them in the oven. So what I'll do is do that for about 400 degrees in the oven. I'll typically set it for about 20 minutes, and then I'll check 12, 13 minutes in, take a look at them. I don't ever rotate them. I don't think you really need to do that because that jerky rack keeps them up and allows the air and the heat to kind of flow through them nicely. So in about 20 minutes, those puppies are done. I just do it based on what that bacon looks like again when it's kind of starts getting a little kind of crispy around there and is fully kind of engulfed the venison and the jalapeno. Man, it's whew, wow, they're really good. So yeah, that's about it. Once you're done, take them off, throw them into whatever receptacle of your choosing, and sit down there and pop them until you pop. They're guaranteed to be amazing eating. My family, we eat them as a main course actually all the time. We rarely have a side with them, but of course they end up being perfect appetizers too for a group, or you have people over, or you're doing a tailgate out at a football game. So that, or when we eat them as a main, I mean, sometimes rarely, but you can have a salad or macaroni or something with them. Man, they're good. So yeah, take a look into that. If you get some extra deer meat, some venison, certainly try it with a ham or whatever piece you want to try it with. I like to do it with the backstrap, of course, like I said, but it's good all over. If you do it with the ham or some other piece, what I typically do is just kind of get my Jacardi and tenderize it a little bit before I start marinating it. That's just what I do. Another thing is, since it's dove season still right now, I do it with dove. So what I'll do is at the end of a hunt, if I have a limit or whatnot, what I like to do is I'll just cut the two breasts off the bone right then and there, right when I'm done, and then that way, I'll just make each popper will be one side of the breast. So you just like that using just a cube, I just use that one side of the breast. Man, they're really good too. That's the way to do it, I tell you. And I have not marinated the dove breast yet and done it. And, I found you don't really need to. But if someone has, shoot me a link or an email or something. Howdy@feedbandit.com, and let me know not just what you've done with dove, but if you guys have other things you put into poppers of this sort, please let me know. That would be great. And if anyone has good recipes for this or any other kind of cooking venison or whatnot, please let us know as well. We'd love to hear it. You can always just go to feedbandit.com, contact us there. So yeah, that's really it for this one. I just wanted to kind of share with you guys what I love very much, what my favorite way to go about cooking that some of that venison, and I'm looking forward to getting some more coming up here very shortly. So yeah, that'll be great. So I mean, if that got y'all hungry and if your mouth is watering like mine is right now, you can see the whole process I described documented with pretty good pictures over at feedbandit.com/poppers. Again, that's feedbandit.com/poppers. And then for you guys out there, if you would like special access to new and innovative hunting gear, please come over and join the hunt at feedbandit.com/join. And when you do, you'll get our bonus free ebook of unique hunting tips and tricks that we think you'll find pretty interesting. Again, that's feedbandit.com/join. And then just a shout out to all the small businesses, feed stores, gear inventors, or entrepreneurs in the hunting space. If you'd like to get more exposure to potential customers by being featured on the Feed Bandit podcast, please let us know. Go on over to feedbandit.com/promote and drop us a line. We'd love to discuss what we can do for you and your business. Again, that's at feedbandit.com/promote. Thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please go and give us a rating and a review on iTunes, as it would really help us out. Now that made me really hungry, so I'm gonna go in and eat me some poppers. So, so as always, remember to support your local feed store. Thank you. Have a good one.